Hello Internet, I'm the Disney Brain and welcome to the Girl Meets World Review. This episode, I'm not really sure how to effectively describe it or properly rate it, but here it is. The episode I've kind of been begging for since last season, which pits Riley against her own mother for really the first time in their lives. That alone makes for a tantalizing concept, but did it deliver? Well, let's discuss. Spoiler warning now, and you just might want to go into this one fresh, if only to play along with the running joke of the episode. With all that said, let's dive into Girl Meets Her Monster. So we kick things off with some bay window singing as a change of pace. Maya and Riley are watching the Red Planet Diaries, a show that actually sounds kind of interesting with how Farco later describes it, but in any case, they've been binge watching the show all weekend to prepare for the finale, but doing so causes Topanga to get none too pleased. What starts off as a disagreement, built on frustration, quickly escalates as Topanga informs Riley of her bakery responsibilities, and Riley tells her mother no. Which, as most of you well know, is near the top of the list of things you don't say to your parents when the term "I'm not asking you, I'm telling you" is used. I was so shocked when she said it, I thought I was the one in trouble. So Maya is wisely trying to avoid any potential confrontation and even trades places with Sarah for a bit. Always nice to have the supporting classmates get a few lines in. Corey then proceeds to compare the situation to Godzilla attacking Japan, a notion that Riley opposes because she's under the illusion that she can just disobey her mother because she's been so good her whole life. In a show that every now and again gives Riley some flimsy reason for acting in very specific ways, this just might be the worst reasoning of all, but we'll get there. So Topanga is anxiously waiting for Riley to show up at the bakery, but surprise, she ends up watching the last few episodes of Red Planet Diaries with Maya instead. And once Topanga entered that room, Lord Almighty. Riley makes the argument that she should be allowed to make her own choices, and Topanga counter-argues that shirking responsibilities and deliberately disobeying her discredits her argument for free will and choices. Now, I could kind of see where both of them were coming from, although Riley would still lose out at this rate, but then she used one of my least favorite terms, entitled. Yuck. All of a sudden, I felt like I was the one being let down right alongside Topanga. So she gets grounded for 3 weeks, and even after all that, she still tries to sneak an episode past Topanga right after she leaves. I mean, are you kidding me right now? Not even Game of Thrones would be worth the battle she started. So everyone else in class is talking about the season finale, except the two that obviously didn't watch it, but Riley is still adamant about her position, so she attempts to use diplomacy to sort out the issue. Now, I've seen Riley not be totally right about a couple things before, but persevere anyways, so I thought, hey, maybe she's got something here. Maybe her and Topanga will have a civilized discussion about their feelings and responsibility and the importance of perspectives and...
You don't care about what's important to me. You only care about what's important to you.
It's good to see her again, huh?
Oh, dear God, please make her stop. I never thought I would ever have to use Riley Matthews and the word disrespectful in the same sentence, but here we are. Things started off bad. Riley made them worse, and now we've hit rock freaking bottom. I was in complete awe, and not the good kind. Bewildered, staggered, aghast. Other words that mean surprise. I felt all of it. So Riley decides that her best bet is to move out. And just to remind everyone, for those of us that may be a little fuzzy on the details, all of this is because of a damn TV show. There are about 1,000, no, 1,000,000 causes that Riley could be planting her flag on, but no, she just had to make her stand here. So she lives with Maya for a bit because $17 won't even buy you a sewer rat in New York, until she realizes she made a huge mistake and eventually moves back in to apologize. Topanga actually feels horrible about the situation too, making it that much clearer how great of a mother she really is. Every point she makes this episode is more or less spot on, and she still feels a little bit guilty about it. And, as something of a silver lining for this episode, Riley does eventually learn her lesson. And that's Girl Meets Her Monster. This was a powerful episode, and not all that bad of one in actuality, but as you could all probably surmise, this episode hurt. And not in the bullies are attacking the cast sort of way, it's more like this time, I was attacked, and maybe that's not a fair perspective for me to take, but I've been an unapologetic defender of Riley's antics, both good and less than ideal, ever since I started watching this show. I felt like a shield, warding off the people who badmouth her, and those people aren't exactly rare. I was fully prepared to walk into battle once again for this episode, but this time, not only did I have no shield, I felt like I barely had any clothes. There's just no defense I can make here, guys, and God knows I'm looking for something. Yes, Riley should be able to have some agency in her life to prepare her for the real world, but I've never seen a single situation prior to this where that was ever an issue before, so where is this coming from? Yes, Topanga should be open to listening to the reasons why certain aspects of pop culture are very important to Riley, but Riley never gives her a real answer. She just accuses Topanga of only thinking about herself. Need I remind anyone that she's a full-time lawyer who fought tooth and nail to save this bakery in addition to working there because the kind lady that used to run the place died, and Riley has the audacity to say she's only thinking about herself? I had to rewind and replay just to make sure I was hearing the words right, but the words didn't change. They didn't change. I really wanted this kind of episode, but not like this. The reason a similar feud between Alan and Corey worked in Boy Meets World is because you could more or less see both sides. They made Riley so inexplicably rude, unbelievably childish, and unfathomably pig-headed, and for what? This could have been a great chance for Riley and Topanga to have a real conversation about the things that are important to them, and how even if those things diverge, they still matter. I'm trying to give Riley the benefit of the doubt here by at least believing her when she says this show is that important, even though in practice no show really should be. If she just managed to actually explain her perspective instead of trying to tear Topanga down, then we've got a great episode, despite the dubious trigger. I'm all about being able to effectively debate perspectives, but the arguments here were so one-sided, and every point Riley made, every action she took, not only hurt me personally to take in, but made Topanga's points even more accurate by comparison. Allow me a moment to dive into the Diggy example. As many of you know, I don't like this guy, but during season 1, I got used to him and was even cool with him for a while. Why? Because Maddie makes me happy and he made her happy, so bashing on him felt kind of hypocritical. That is, until he gave me an overly legitimate reason to. This was that, except 10 times worse, because I've had nothing but unapologetic appreciation for Riley since the very first episode. I felt stabbed in the back, quite honestly. I wholeheartedly expected Riley to be better than this, but she ended up disappointing me, disappointing her parents, and most importantly, herself. Now, I don't know if this is necessarily the right way to feel, and maybe I should be putting more emphasis on Riley having learned her lesson at the end, and Topanga and her becoming a little closer as a result. But the fact is, most of us probably figured that Riley would learn her lesson. She always does. But the path getting there was painful, arduous, and filled with briar patches. I know that in a week's time, maybe 2, I'll be right back by Riley's side, ready for the next lesson. But tonight, for maybe the first time ever, I didn't want to be. And I hate how that feels. This one hurt me, guys. It hurt me a lot. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this review, throw down a like, sub for more, and, well, you know the rest. Until then.
Could Blarg be a human if he had 2 heads?
And if his name was Blarg?
And if he was green?
He wasn't! Everybody else was. It was the audience who was mind-wiped. Brilliant!